What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing you the latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. Today was media day for the Brooklyn Nets, which we didn't really hear anything different than what we kind of heard at the press conference that announced the official trade of Garnett, Pierce, and Terry. They basically all said the same exact thing. This is going to be fun season. They're happy to be here. People are going to have to sacrifice. Garnett's going to be a team leader. Nothing really interesting. A lot of pressures on Jason Kidd, but he embraces it because he's Jason Kidd. Nothing really important was really said too much. Nothing that I picked up on that I would say, like, oh, that's really huge. But it does mean that the season's finally getting underway. At least training camp is. We're still a solid month away from the actual tip-off of the actual season. But, hey, basketball's coming back faster than we know. Because right now I got nothing else to look forward to, My Giants are 0-4 so far, and they look like a disaster. And my Yankees, don't even really want to talk about that with them, about how they just didn't make the playoffs. So I really don't have much to look forward to right now, other than my number one team, my Nets, coming back and trying to win a championship. So I'm looking forward to it. Hockey, I don't give a crap. Devils are technically my team, but I couldn't really care less about hockey. So I'm excited. So basketball's around the corner. But this video is not about that. I'm just throwing that out there because, that's what happened today. Like I said, today was media day, and that was really it. But today is my top 3 most overrated players in the NBA. Last week I did my most underrated players and so on and so forth. Before that I did centers, power forwards. Well, if you've been watching, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't been watching, then I don't know. I don't even know who I'm really talking to. So, beside the point. So today, this is my most overrated players. Now, you probably already know all 3 that I'm going to say, because if you did watch my videos before, you heard me talk about all 3 of them every time I mentioned their names. I always would follow it up with, I think they're extremely overrated, or I think they're bad, blah, blah, this. So you probably know all 3 of them. But I'm going to go in any way and say them and really explain personally why I think they are overrated. A lot of people think that a lot of players are overrated. Being overrated in the NBA to me is more of it's definitely more of an opinionated thing, because there's a lot of players you can argue are underrated. You can argue a lot are overrated, and But I look at this more of like, these are the players that everybody, when I say everybody, I mean mostly media and like things like that. That everybody always says, "Oh, that guy's such a great player," and they use the term, and I hate it, superstar. I hate that term, superstar. There is really only, in my eyes, 3, 4, maybe 5 true superstars in the league. A superstar is a player who can single-handedly carry their team when no one else is playing well, night in and night out. Now, there's star players. Now, a star player can do that, but they don't do it as regularly as a superstar player, and usually a star player needs help around him. Like, superstar players are people like Michael Jordan. He was a superstar. Larry Bird was a superstar. Even though, let's be honest, these guys, Jordan had Pippen and really good defense, and Larry Bird had a good, solid team with McHale and a few other people around him, and Parrish. But that's beside the point. The point I'm trying to say is, like, those guys were superstars. Superstars today is like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. I want to say Kevin Durant, because I really do believe he is. So I'm going to say him. And I kind of want to say a healthy Derrick Rose. And maybe Carmelo, maybe. But not too much. Those guys are superstars. Those are the guys who night in, night out bring it. When they have a bad game, they're still efficient and still good. Star players are people like Darren Williams. And even him, I think he's overrated. Though he's not on this list, but I might consider him in the future. Because I think Darren Williams, even though, being a Nets fan, I've seen so much of him, he's, to me, an overrated player. But that's, he hasn't really done a lot since coming to the Nets, other than the second half of last year. But another star player would be like, basically everyone else that we say is superstar players. So I'd say someone along the lines of James Harden and along those lines, a star player. A star player is your best player on your team who's going to be very good and such on and so forth. I just want to clarify that. I just hate people using the term superstars. And that's usually what people use the term for, superstars, like a great player, and they say, but there's a difference. There's a difference between a star player and a superstar player. And I'll probably address that during this countdown. So let's go into it. Number 3, my third most overrated player in the league, is a player that we use the superstar label as. And to me, he's a star player. He's definitely a great player. And that's Russell Westbrook. You can argue a lot about it. I mean, 23.2 points per game. He averaged, can't even read my own notes, 7.4 assists. 5.2 rebounds, very good for a point guard. Only had a player efficiency rating of 15.5, which is actually kind of good, but it's not great. His biggest thing, though, he had 3.3 turnovers a game. Now, I know he was the point guard, but he's not even really a true point guard. It's not like he's passing the ball a lot. I'm going to be honest. I think Russell Westbrook is somebody who passes the ball because he's told he's supposed to, because he's a point guard. But if he was really going to play in the free flow of the offense, he'd probably shoot a lot more shots. And the fact that last season he almost outshot Kevin Durant, to me, I don't like that. Kevin Durant is a much better scorer. Obviously, we saw in the playoffs that Westbrook is needed for the Thunder to win when they don't have James Harden. They need him to help scoring with Durant, so he needs to do it. But that's just the way he is. I just think he's overrated. I think he tries to play hero ball too much. I think he tries to take games into his own hands, and he's not consistent enough to do it. And I think that's what separates a star player the most and a superstar, is the consistency factor. A superstar player will bring it night in, night out, even when he has a bad game. And a star player can bring it, but kind of fades and struggles a bit. And Westbrook, he has games where he really struggles, and his mid-range jump shot is inconsistent, though he can make it. His 3 shooting is inconsistent, though he can make it. He's just best at slashing to the basket and getting fouled and going to the line. But people look at him as one of the best players in the league, and he was, I believe, number 3 in my top 5 point guards, but I can't go out there and say safely that I think he's that great of a player. He's definitely very important to the Thunder, especially when you see that Durant needs help offensively, and he's definitely a star player and a very good point guard. But I just think his turnovers are too high. He doesn't really pass the ball much. He's not a true point guard, and he's very inconsistent with his scoring, and he's a little bit of a head case. I just think he's overrated. I think people, you say he's a superstar, he's a star player, he's a great player, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's not all that amazing in my eyes. So he's number 3. My number 2 ranked most overrated player is somebody that everyone might agree is pretty overrated, and I've said it before. That is Blake Griffin. 18 points per game, 8.3 rebounds. He shot 66% from the free throw line. He's a big. We can let that pass. Player efficiency rating of 14.9. Okay, not terrible. But what drives me crazy about him, and I've mentioned it before in my other videos, he averaged 0.6 blocks per game. And this is a guy who's 6'9", extremely gifted and athletic. You should have at least 1 block a game. For his athleticism, and also 8.3 rebounds is pretty bad for somebody who's as athletic as he is. And I said this once before. Him and DeAndre Jordan are so athletic and so big, and they should be averaging at least a block and a half a game and at least 10 rebounds because of their athleticism. But they don't, and I think that is a huge problem with Blake Griffin. He really just dunks on people. He's very explosive. He has improved his offense a little bit. He can do a little bit of a back-to-the-basket thing, and if the guy is smaller than him. But really, just watch the Clippers play. Blake Griffin is nothing without Chris Paul. Before Chris Paul came, he was exciting. He made a lot of dunks, and he had a good season. But Blake Griffin is really only going to be as good as the point guard you pair him up with. If you have a great point guard like Chris Paul with Blake Griffin, then Griffin's going to be good because he can use his athleticism and he can use his size to dunk and be efficient, but he really struggles from the free throw line. He really is very inconsistent with the mid-range jump shot, which he has to start developing. His post game is very limited. He's just really overrated. I know Clipper fans love him, and he's very exciting to watch. I think he's up there as one of the most exciting players to watch because of his dunks and his athleticism. But let's be honest, very overrated player. And just the fact that he clearly is not a great defender, I still can't get past 0.6 blocks a game from someone as athletic and great as he is. And same thing with the rebounding. 8.3 is ridiculous. He should be able to jump over people and get the rebound. So he's really overrated in my eyes. But he's not the most overrated player in the league. My most overrated player in the league, and you definitely probably know it from all my previous videos, because all I talk about is how overrated he is, and that is Dwight Howard. I think maybe a few more people are kind of agreeing with me now after the season Dwight had last year, except I thought Dwight was overrated before last season. Last season, I feel like it's actually probably unfair to call him overrated because he had the back injury and he wasn't as efficient and he was dealing with trying to mesh with Kobe and everything. I thought he was overrated before that. Back when he was with the Magic, I thought he was extremely overrated. Coming from a Vince Carter fan who watched the Magic the year Vince Carter was on that team and saw night in and night out Dwight Howard getting the ball, losing the ball, not being able to make a shot beyond 5 feet, not being able to make a free throw, really just frustrated the crap out of me. Dwight Howard's numbers: 17.1 points per game, 12.4 rebounds, 2.4 blocks per game. Those are good numbers, and that's what he's supposed to do. And he was my number 1 ranked center overall because statistically he is the best center statistically. But I would never want Dwight Howard on my team because he is just an idiot. He's a head case. He shot 49% from the free throw line. And here's what drives me crazy. 3 turnovers a game from a center. A big man. The reason why point guards have a lot of turnovers and why Russell Westbrook's turnovers are bad, but it's understandable. Point guards are supposed to have a lot of turnovers because they have the ball in their hands. And they make plays. They pass the ball. They make more mistakes. The ball's always in their hands. When you're a center, the only time the ball's in your hand is if you're scoring under the basket. And that means that having 3 turnovers, either he is terrible at passing out of the double team, which he is, or what happens more often is he gets the ball stripped out of his hand every time and he loses the ball. I never seen a guy get the ball 5 feet from the basket and get stripped from like a freaking Nate Robinson. He has no hands. He loses the ball all the time. He gets the ball and loses 3 turnovers. He's a center. He's a center. What? Centers shouldn't have more than like 1.5 turnovers. 3. Not even point guards are that bad. I would have less turnovers in the NBA. It doesn't make any sense. He can't shoot free throws. And if you watch his offensive game, his post moves. What post moves? He's got this little half kind of hook shot that he just recently developed, by the way. Despite this being like his 8th season, he just recently developed this kind of ugly hook shot that he can't make beyond 5 feet. And he has that weird little off the backboard jump shot, one-handed shot. I don't even know what the hell it is. It's just, his game is so ugly. He's so bad. Why do we go out there and call him a superstar? Oh, I'm so glad the Nets didn't trade Lopez for him. And I think you would all agree, as a Nets fan, you'd rather have Lopez than Dwight Howard. Maybe not, I don't know. Because what makes Dwight Howard good is his rebounding, 12.4, and his defense, 2.4 blocks per game. That's great. But you know what? He's expected that. His offense, 17 points per game. He can score 20, but he's another guy that he's only going to be as good as the players around him. The year the Magic went to the finals and were very good, he had 3 shooters around him. Great perimeter players. The Magic relied on the threes, but notice, when the game got down to the wire, who had the ball when the Magic were at their best? Turkoglu. And then when Turkoglu left, Vince Carter. Dwight gets the ball in clutch situations, he loses it. And I'm not even joking. When I watched the Magic play, when he was on the team with Vince Carter, I blew up at the TV of when the game was on the line and he would get the ball and he would miss it, or they would foul him and he would miss 2 free throws. He's so bad. He's so bad. He can just dunk. And you know what? Shaquille O'Neal puts it the best, and I agree with him. For his athleticism and his size, he should be dominating the league. There's no other player in the league with his type of size and athleticism. He should be dominating. He should have more than 12 rebounds a game. He should have more than 17 points. But like I said, last year he was hurt, so we're going to give him a little bit of a pass. But even before that, he did have 14 rebounds a game and did average, I think, close to 20 points. That's what I would expect from Dwight Howard, night in and night out. But he could even dominate more. And he's just inconsistent, and he's an idiot, and he thinks that the Lakers were the problem, and what drives me crazy is he really left the Lakers because he wanted to be the guy. Well, guess what, Dwight? When you're the guy, you suck. Because Kobe was the reason why the Lakers made the playoffs last year, not Dwight Howard. Turkoglu was the reason why the Magic were so good that year in their 3 shooting, not Dwight Howard. And now, if the Rockets do win, it's going to be because of James Harden, not Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is a great player. He's my top center statistically, but he is not a superstar, and he is not a player that you can count in night in, night out. He turns the ball over too much. His offensive game is limited. He can't shoot free throws, and he's a head case. And really, you can tell he doesn't like pressure. He didn't like LA, and he doesn't like but oh my God, he's just bad. He is just bad. Bad, bad, bad. And I actually was writing a song, which I originally was going to sing, about Dwight Howard and how bad he was, but I couldn't finish writing the song because there was too many things I was listing in the song that he was bad at that I couldn't put it in lyrically. Maybe I'll have that song done eventually, and I would love to play it for you guys. I think that'd be pretty cool. But that's all I really got to say about Dwight Howard. It frustrates me how terrible he is, and you know what? I don't think he's going to have that great of a year in Houston. I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to average 18 points, 13 rebounds, 2.5 blocks. A really good year for Dwight Howard, but he's never going to be that superstar player that everyone says he is. He's not going to, I was so glad the Nets didn't take him. I would have been very upset if they traded Lopez, who has foul shooting ability, offensive ability, solid defense, a little bit more of a clutch play, less turnovers. I would have kept Lopez before Dwight Howard. The only thing I really think Dwight Howard is much better than Lopez is rebounding. But as you remember last week, 2 weeks ago, that's to me a little overrated. But Dwight Howard, you suck. You always will suck. I think you terribly suck. You suck with a big sucking suck of suck, with a capital suck and a suck. Suck. So that's my most overrated players, a.k.a. Dwight Howard. And that's that. With that, and that's that. So that was my long rant. Almost 10, 15 minutes of a rant about how much Dwight Howard sucks, but that's how much he sucks. So tune in some other time in the future when I don't know yet, because we're still a month away from the season, and I really have only ideas for 2 more videos. So it might be another video next week. You might not see a video for 2 weeks. It depends on what's going on. Yeah. Gotta calm down after that. So that's that. Keep your eyes open for the next NetsBoy. This is NetsBoy, signing off.